Hey guys, it's Julian, and what would you do to get even? What are you willing to sacrifice for revenge? If you hated one person with every fiber of your being, would you roll over and let them get away with it? Would you endure terrible consequences in the name of vengeance? Sorry, I don't mean to get so dramatic. It's just that, well, you know how whenever you start a good book or a good TV show, it's all you can think about? That's how I've been this past week about the movie Gone Girl and the video game The Last of Us Part 2. So much so, it has inspired me to create a new series on this channel called This and That, where I review two pieces of art and then compare them. But before I get into the meat of the video, let me introduce our two pieces of media. Gone Girl is a mystery/thriller released in 2014 and directed by my second favorite director, David Fincher. Yeah. The film stars Ben Affleck, Rosamund Pike, Tyler Perry, and Neil Patrick Harris. The film made $130 million in the box office, and the critical reception was very positive. The film is an instant classic, and if I had to describe the movie in one word, the word would be jarring. The Last of Us Part 2 is the sequel to the critically acclaimed PlayStation 3 title, The Last of Us. Released in the summer of 2020, Part 2 is a suspenseful action-adventure game that takes place in a post-zombie apocalypse. The game sold 4 million copies in a week, which is the second best PlayStation debut of all time. Critics loved the game, but fans were completely divided when it first came out. And I mean completely divided. Every day after the game came out, I was in YouTube comment sections and Twitter threads, and I was seeing people fight over the game with their life. If I had to describe the game in one word, the word would be tragic. Now, enough of everybody else's opinion. You're here for what's important, my opinion. But if I'm being honest, when it comes to these two masterpieces, my opinion doesn't stray far from the critics. And of course, I'm going to be spoiling both The Last of Us 2 and Gone Girl, so if you don't have a PlayStation and you can't play The Last of Us 2, the least you can do is go watch Gone Girl. It's on HBO Max right now, or you can just pirate it off of a black market website. I don't care, just get your hands on it. Gone Girl is a really good movie. It's long, but it earns its runtime with impressive dialogue and great cinematography. I mean, some of these shots alone are works of art. No surprise there, the cinematographer for Gone Girl worked on David Fincher's other movies, so you really see some world-class camera work. A very important aspect of all films that is often overlooked is editing. I should know, the person who edits my videos told me, and he's really trustworthy. And also he's got great hair, he's got a lot of good friends, he's really good at video games. Gone Girl is a masterclass in editing. Because there are two timelines and several flashbacks, it was necessary for the editors of the movie to have clear transitions and screen labels so that the audience knows when and where the scene takes place. And obviously the dialogue in this movie is out of this world. It's a Fincher movie, so every line sounds like a Shakespeare play. It's so dramatic. Just two people chatting is entertaining. But when they argue, woohoo, man!
Well, let's talk about life insurance. Because in April, you bumped up Amy's life insurance to $1.2 million.
Yes, I did. That was her idea. She wanted me to.
You filed the paperwork.
Because she told me to!
Whoa.
Hold on a second. Yeah.
The dialogue and cinematography of this film work together to make the film feel faster. I mean, there's literally a plot twist in the middle of this 3-hour movie's runtime, and it still manages to surprise you for the back half of the movie. If anyone knows a better plot twist in the middle of a movie, please let me know in the comments, because when I saw Gone Girls for the first time, my jaw dropped. My favorite shot is this dolly zoom right before the perspective switch, and it's actually my favorite dolly zoom ever. It's quick and subtle, but extremely effective. My favorite character is the lawyer Tanner Bolt, and I wish Tyler Perry was in more dramatic movies because he's great in them. Finally, my favorite monologue is from the antagonist, Amy, when she talks to the audience about how a boyfriend only ever makes a woman a worse version of herself, whereas the woman always, and I quote, forges the man of their dreams. It's moments like these that make the audience pull their hair out on whether to empathize with the characters or hate their snobby guts, which is a perfect segue into my review for The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us Part 2 is a really good video game. The ambitious story and intense gameplay have you on the edge of your seat through the whole thing. I remember it was this hospital encounter in the game where I was playing it and my heart was racing. I must have been subconsciously thinking that if I was caught by the enemies and killed in the game, then I would have died in real life. I have felt this intense connection to a video game before, but never a feeling this intimate and intense. And this is because of how immersive the game is. Let me describe to you some of the moment-to-moment gameplay so you can see how realistic this game is. Ellie Williams, our protagonist, is hiding in tall grass from a pack of zombies. These infected used to be normal people, but now resemble a disgusting copy of a human, grunting and groaning as they shuffle along, looking for their next meal of raw meat. Ellie lines up a clean headshot and bang! The bullet rips through the creature's head, and that awful shell of a human body stays upright for a split second before its head tilts, then the rest of its body goes limp. But before Ellie can get away, a terrifying, abhorrent amalgamation of fat, rancid meat lunges at her and releases a poisonous gas cloud that welts up Ellie's skin and kills her in seconds. That was an intense moment of gameplay that in real time only lasts 10 seconds. All of these details serve to pull you into the world of The Last of Us Part 2. And another thing that pulls you into the world just as well is its story. This is the story of The Last of Us Part 2, and this is how you experience it. The story begins in the present, through Ellie's perspective, but it flip-flops between past and present, up until the climax of the game here. But right before the climax, the perspective switches. Now you play as Abby, from the beginning of the game as Ellie, flip-flopping between past and present with flashbacks again, this time at Abby's perspective, up until the climax. Then you play through the climax as Abby, and then through some of the resolution as Abby, and then it flip-flops between Abby and Ellie's perspective in the resolution again. Now, if you haven't played the game, this is confusing to you. Partially because the story is very complex, and partially because my handwriting sucks. But the bottom line is, the point that I'm trying to make, is that you only get these kinds of stories from billion-dollar Christopher Nolan movies, not from video games, aka the least respected art form on the planet Earth. Even if you hate The Last of Us Part 2, it is an objective fact that this right here is a point of innovation and ambition never before seen in the medium of video games. As far as movies go, I give Gone Girl a 9 out of 10, and as far as video games go, I give The Last of Us Part 2 a 10 out of 10. Now let's compare them. Gone Girl and The Last of Us Part 2 are chaotic stories, and in them there are people who thrive off of the chaos. In Part 2's case, there are genuine psychopaths that enjoy the end of the world. These people are called the Rattler Gang, and they chain up the infected, enslave any normal people, and then make them fight in a deformed gladiator match. Now those people are textbook anarchists. But just because Gone Girl takes place in the modern day doesn't mean it has its fair share of anarchists too. In Gone Girl, Ellen Abbott is a so-called news reporter who continually pushes the most ridiculous narratives her show can come up with to fan the fire surrounding Amy's disappearance. When Nick Dunn was simply trying to find his wife in the beginning of the film, Ellen Abbott was there to call him a murderer on national television. And after Amy came home, well, now Nick Dunn is a saint, and we'd love to have him on the show. Ellen Abbott doesn't care about the news, she doesn't even care about the truth. And just like the Rattler Gang from The Last of Us 2, she thrives off of the chaos. Ellie Williams and the amazing Amy seem to fight for causes that they don't actually support. At first glance, Amy seems like a feminist character. I mean, she frames her cheating husband for murder. But the more time she spends talking in my favorite monologue of the film, the more you realize that she actually hates women. She refers to them using terrible derogatory insults, and she belittles the concept of pregnancy and motherhood. Amy may think that she's exacting revenge on behalf of all women, but her hypocrisy stems from the fact that she only cares about herself. And Ellie's quest for vengeance in The Last of Us Part 2 is just as hypocritical. Ellie needs revenge on Abby for killing someone close to her, but on Ellie's journey, she kills everyone close to Abby. And at first, it's like fighting fire with fire. Oh, Abby killed my friend, so I'm gonna kill her friend. But after 20 friends and a pregnant woman, Ellie realizes that this was all a terrible idea. And just like Amy, her selfishness tarnishes the nobility of her cause. To finish up this video, I'm going to be comparing the most blatant similarity between these two pieces of art, their plots. Both stories begin quite peacefully. Amy and Nick go on their first dates, and Ellie and her girlfriend Dina explore Wyoming on horseback. There are a few bumps in the road during this period. Nick and Amy have financial problems and move to Missouri, and Ellie and Dina start encountering some zombies. And then there's a very sharp turning point, one that kickstarts both of the stories. Ellie's best bud gets killed, and it is revealed that Nick is cheating on his wife. The rest of both stories follow Murphy's Law, in that anything that could go wrong does go wrong. We have family members lying to each other's faces and stabbing each other in the back.
Ma, you're a liar and a cheat. You're just like Dad.
If you lie to me one more time, I'm gone.
We have secret pregnancies.
She was pregnant.
I think I'm pregnant. What?
And we have flashback to times before the story began, when things weren't easier, but they were much less intense.
Looks like a giraffe.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Nick is happy to be home.
Finally, we have the finale. Now, this is the thing that I hear the most complaints about. Biggest complaints I get from my friends and the internet is that the conclusions of both of these stories are not satisfying enough. And to me, I think that's the point. Vengeance is draining and destructive. When all four characters, the protagonist and antagonist of both stories, come face to face in the climax, in the resolution of the films and the video games, they realize that it didn't matter. Vengeance wasn't worth what they lost. At the end of the day, they can just end things on less than good terms because it wasn't worth it.
And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very